I can remember when I was a child growing up in Evansville that we would have Red Feather Fund and all the kids would donate to it.
So we've always worked with women and girls and families, and we've continued to do that from 1911 now through 1997. And we've always been a United Way agency.
Well, my dad became, I think, the head of the fund drive when about the time I got out of school after World War II, I believe.
That the churches were that involved and participating, it was almost like there must have been a great trust level. And a trust level among the churches and among the organizations that we were all much maybe closer then.
1922, Warren G. Harding was president. Coal miners and railroad workers were on strike. Louis Satchmo Armstrong made his debut on the Chicago jazz scene. Dance marathons were the craze, and the Community Chest was organized in Evansville. The Community Chest was organized to have a collective fundraising campaign for 17 human service agencies. The first campaign raised $103,000. After 5 years of declining campaigns, the Chest disbanded in 1927. Agencies found it difficult to fundraise on their own, so in 1934, the Community Chest was reorganized, and as the Community Fund, it raised $134,000. At first, the Community Fund just did fundraising and allocating, but soon they realized that more was needed to address community needs. In the early campaigns, women played a major role. The Women's Division was organized geographically, and women canvassed the city neighborhoods. Churches organized Community Fund Sunday and devoted their sermons and Sunday school classes. Literature was distributed to parishioners. The bishop from the Indianapolis Diocese wrote an endorsement letter that was read at all Catholic churches. Organized labor encouraged labor and management to work together for the Community Fund. In the late 1930s, community volunteers reviewed the community expenditures and distributions to the agencies to ensure accountability to the donors. Fundraising and administrative costs were around 10% and still are today. Although the name has changed, the mission of helping the most needy has remained. One of the original helpers was the Visiting Nurse Association. VNA began in 1888 to provide cheer and goodwill to hospital patients. By 1902, their work had expanded to home visits. The first visiting nurse, Miss Lydia Metz, made her rounds on a bicycle. She was the first visiting nurse in Indiana and one of the first in the country. By 1922, the Baby's Milk Fund was established to provide milk for needy families and teach mothers about baby care. Through the years, VNA operated health clinics and home care for the poor. Nurses no longer make their rounds on bicycles, but by car, and travel some 2 million miles and make 177,000 home visits a year. Cheryl has been a nurse for 16 years, both in a hospital and in home care.
When you walk into a home setting, you're not the person in charge. You're a guest in their home. And I like that aspect of it. I like being able to teach people how to be independent in their self-care. I just find that very satisfying, particularly in infusion. For example, the patient we're going to see today, he's just remarkable. He is almost entirely independent in his entire therapy at home, and years ago we would have seen him probably maybe in a nursing home.
VNA began its infusion therapy program in 1994 and served nearly 100 patients the first year. Infusion therapy once required long hospital stays. Cheryl now helps Larry in the comfort of his home. Larry is involved in his own treatment program.
The patients are much, much happier in the home. They're independent. They have control of their environment. You establish a rapport and a relationship that is much, much different than the type of relationship you would have in the hospital. It's entirely different. So I find it very satisfying. It's very rewarding.
When I became ill, I didn't have health insurance. Thanks to United Way and VNA, I have the opportunity for a nurse to come out and help me do these things. I wouldn't have had that available to me if United Way hadn't stepped in and decided to help. And I'm sure that there are many others like me that don't have health insurance.
The Red Cross roots go back to the Civil War. They've been providing service to the military and their families, blood services, health and safety programs, and disaster services. Although chartered by Congress to provide military and disaster services, Red Cross receives no government funding and depends on local support like the United Way. In February, when the Ohio River spilled over its banks, The Red Cross was there as it has been for 80 years in Evansville, lending a helping hand to Ms. Charles Barker and hundreds like her living along the Ohio.
We stayed out in the camper because it was up off the ground, because we didn't know how soon the water would get to us. But when we got up the next morning, the water was already a foot trying to get out of the camper, so we thought it was time to grab a few clothes or whatever, put them in the truck and go. Everything is lost. I did get to see this, save the headboards to my bed. That was, they're a little bit stained, but I got to save that. We got a long way to go. And they were just, real helpful. First they sent us out for food if we needed it and clothing. And then as they got cleaning supplies and stuff in, they, helped us with that. Then they helped us figure out how to get help from FEMA to, get us housing and things like that. So they was just there for everything.
St. Vincent's Daycare began in 1918 near the end of World War I. The St. Vincent de Paul Society noticed children on the streets and wondered where their parents were. They discovered the fathers were at war and mothers were working. They asked the Ladies of Charity, a volunteer group, to take care of the children. After 6 months, the ladies found it difficult to care for their own children and the others. So the Daughters of Charity stepped in. A sister who was a nurse returning from the war began the first daycare center. Gary Alderson, Executive Director of Administrative Services for the City of Evansville, was one of the thousands of children St. Vincent's has cared for over the years.
I believe it was in 1951 and 52. I can remember my mother getting us up early in the morning and getting on the bus and coming across town. One of the things I always remember is the big fence that was out front. It seemed at the time such a huge wall, but actually I see today it's rather a small decorative fencing. And, I remember the nuns with the big hats on, the big white hats, the big flying nun hats. I don't know if they frightened me or what, but I will always remember how they looked. And, but I think probably why I remember most is because it was a happy occasion. It was someplace that you came and you played with other kids, and I guess things were safe, and there was always love here. Ours was a single parent family, and a working mom trying to take care of 2 children on her own, and facing a lot of the same kinds of problems and things then that parents have today. And St. Vincent's at that time was, I think, really an answer to prayer for her.
We have a full-time social worker, and her salary is paid for through United Way funds. We realized that families, they have the same struggle as your mom did, but the world seems a little crueler and a little tougher. There's trouble with drugs, more trouble with drugs and violence, and a lot of our families have a lot that they have to deal with, and the social worker comes in handy.
St. Vincent's did a lot for me, and I wish I could do more for it.
Today, United Way continues to care for the people of southwestern Indiana. The strength of the United Way depends upon hundreds of community volunteers who dedicate their time and talent to raising funds, assessing community needs, and allocating resources to 73 programs in 42 agencies. Those who need help the most get help. Volunteers add value to your donation to make sure your dollars are working hard.
The value added by allocations is that we try to get the most that we can for every United Way dollar raised, get the most use out of that money. By you giving to United Way, you're in essence hiring 80 or more volunteers to decide how best to put that money to use.
The most important thing that United Way does, I think, is to look at community need and then look at the services that fill those community needs, and that we're funding those services that hopefully will make an impact on the serious social problems that we have today.
We need a common vision. We need a collaboration among all the organizations in our community so that we can all serve the people that are most in need on an everyday basis.
I also have always felt that if you live here, you ought to try to help the community out and do all you can for it. And we always felt, and I know my father did too, that United Way, as it is now, embraces many different agencies and does a lot of good in various areas of the community.
The power of one collective campaign effort to come together to meet community needs and to assess those the sense of that is just irrefutable. In fact, it makes so much business sense that I would contend that if we didn't have a United Way, we'd be meeting to try to create one.
We've been making a difference, seeing the people, giving the help, and feeling the hope for 75 years.